We gotta get out of the house.
Hello.
You have four, you could have done this without me.
It's not 6 here.
No, it wouldn't have been, it's really good.
Where's Jerry?
You knew you were gonna be here.
They've gotten 20 inches in everything's. Seriously?
Wow, it's getting.
Mary's messing with you.
They are getting it harder, I think, when just looks at the news and hiring stuff that we were like here.
Yeah.
No.
No, I'm surprised because he did say.
Yeah.
And he wasn't, and I didn't hear anything, so it makes me sort of wonder if somebody's on the roads.
At 5 o'clock, it was coming down like, you know, the giant snowball flakes
Yeah.
from Idaho Springs to.
Yeah, and that's what I think.
Okay, Jerry's gonna be online, I just said it.
Okay.
He turned around.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is,
So,
Dan, do a sound effect for me.
Dan, can you hear us?
Fine. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Okay, it is 6 p.m. on Tuesday, April 25th, 2023, and I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Board of Selectmen to order. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic and one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next will be roll call. I am Lynette Kelsey, police judge. Rob Connell.
here.
Deanne Powell.
Here.
Ooh, we still have a lingering Dwayne Gazinski. Mary Smith. And Rich Barrows. We have full house. Next we'll do agenda approval. We are deleting agenda item number 3. We expected to get more information, a more detailed quote, and we did not receive that. So we'll postpone that till another time when we have more information. Any other, oh, and you got an email about, the mayors and commissioners youth awards, but we're gonna do that on the, first May meeting rather than tonight. Because that's when Tracy expected to be here. So it's not on the agenda, it won't be in addition. So, any other changes to the agenda?
We need to talk again about the sound system because last week when we had the big crowd in, when they were all, you know, commenting, a lot of times because there were so many people, it went all blurry, and that was pretty important stuff to have, even if 9/10 of it was just chit chat. When it initially went blurry, I wondered, well, like for example, when everybody broke up to leave the room, there was discussion going on amongst the board and stuff that would be nice to hear. So we need to do something about it.
We did not continue discussion until the crowd had gotten at least partway down the stairs. I waited. So, and I don't think we need to discuss it as a board. I think, let's have staff continue to look into it,
And we just got our new owl.
Wahoo!
Well, the pictures are way considerably better. It's the sound that's the problem, and it hasn't been fixed. It's better, but it's not good enough.
I understand. So it's a work in progress, but I'm not sure we can resolve it tonight, so let's make that a staff priority, and, I don't think we need to discuss it as a board.
All right.
Any other additions or deletions for the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda. It's dated April 25th, 2023 at 6 P.M.
As amended.
As amended.
As amended.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as amended. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Wonderful. Audience business. Members of the audience have 5 minutes to present any matter of interest not already on the agenda.
And we do have Amber virtually who would like to speak during audience business, so you can go ahead, Amber.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. So I just wanted to speak regarding the ordinance 8 that was passed in the last meeting.
It wasn't passed.
Yes, it was. Ordinance number 8 was passed.
5.
Yeah, the one regarding the lodging or hotel business licenses. Yeah. I was in the meeting. I did try to speak after Marshall Randy did, but I was just having trouble with the remote access. But I did email those things or my comments, and I just wanted to verbally present to the board. I know you guys can't amend it today or discuss it, but I wanted that to be something that's important to be put on the agenda in the future agenda. Number one, there is a clause in that ordinance for a summary suspension of the business license. It bypasses the 30-day notice of the regular suspension, and the business cannot continue to operate during the suspension. Considering that we're hotels and we're very seasonal in business, if we get shut down for even 2 weeks while waiting for an appeal, that could be really detrimental to the business. And since there is a due process suspension already, I just think this is a little bit too much. Just having that looming over us, no other business has that kind of suspension process. I think it's just a little too much. 2 other things that were kind of included in the ordinance, but hasn't been detailed out: the monthly reporting requirement and the license fee. Now, those 2 things should have been, in my opinion, a lot more detailed out and discussed before this ordinance was passed. Especially the monthly reporting requirement could be very, very crucial aspect of this ordinance. We don't know what the plan or what the town is planning to do. We have no idea what it's gonna be. I don't know if you're gonna ask us like all the information or just a little bit of information or statistical information. But we would like to see it as soon as possible because the clock is ticking, because we only have 2.5 months now before this goes into effect. Same thing with the fee schedule. I believe this was supposed to regulate long-term stays. So we already pay a business license fee to the town. I don't know what privilege we're getting from having this additional license. If we don't have any long-term stays, there shouldn't be an additional fee. But we don't know what the fee schedule is yet either, so we can't comment on that. But those 3 things, the 3 hotels in town that I spoke to are behind in commenting and advising the town what our opinion is on those things. If we can get some kind of information from the town, how it's going to be implemented and what the reporting requirements are going to be.
Okay, thank you, Amber. Rick, is that something you can stay in contact with Amber about?
Yeah, Jerry and I are going to be in contact, and I appreciate Amber speaking tonight. We've also spoke on the phone. We're in the process of creating these documents, and I even spoke to Jerry on the way up here to Glenwood Springs, is that we would like to extend, when we do our comments, extend the period so that all hotels have adequate time to prepare for this.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, and can I better understand so I can relay the information to the other businesses? Why the summary suspension was put in? Was it just kind of a copy paste from a different ordinance that another town did? Or is there a particular reason that's being put in there?
Well, I can answer that. It's it's not a copy and paste. It's a tool that is available for the town in the event, for example, and I'm sure it won't happen with the hotels that the town has in Georgetown. But if, for example, there's a property that is permitting long-term stays and the conditions in those rooms aren't sufficient to support long-term residents, and that's in part the reason for the ordinance, is to make sure there's a certain level of facilities and standards available if someone's going to be living in a facility for 6 months. And if the town learns that that's not happening and is not able to otherwise correct it, that's what that summary suspension tool is for. And it's a tool that many cities and counties use in their licensing regimes, but they use it only in extreme cases where there's, a life safety issue that really can't wait for a longer term appeal process. So that's why it's there. It's not just a boilerplate. It's a necessary tool, but one that, in my opinion, would be rarely used.
Understood. I just implore the selectmen to please read in detail those suspension clauses in there, because there's already a clause in there that the town can use to suspend the license with a 30-day notice to rectify the situation. If they don't rectify, they can appeal and whatnot. There's already a regular procedure for it. This is just an additional thing the town can do to just shut them off on the spot. And is skipping some due process. And like Jerry said, I don't know if his concerns or the town's concern seems to be already addressed by the 30-day notice suspension. Unless there's some kind of argument for needing something that drastic.
Well, I can only repeat myself, but Amber's right. There is a tool there that is the one that would typically be used, which is the notice and hearing process. But it's also true that cities need to have a tool if there is a threat to life safety that's ongoing. That's why you have that tool. Both tools are available. I don't disagree that 9 times out of 10, the town would use the notice and hearing process, but it has to have the right to protect public safety in an extreme situation. That's why it's there. And both tools are ones that are appropriate to be in the ordinance. It's all about how they're used and when. And Amber and I probably agree on that. It's all about how it's used and when, but I wouldn't agree that you don't need both tools. I think both of them need to be in the toolkit. Okay,
those are really good points. Then can I suggest that it becomes more in line with what the charter does? And the charter requires a suspension by emergency session of the councilman or the selectmen, and the selectmen can do a summary suspension. I advise that similar, it should be hearing.
Excuse me, but we're way past 5 minutes.
Okay.
Audience business really should be limited to that. Let's, I would advise you discuss it with Rick when you have a time and Rick has time. Okay? Thank you.
The amendment has to be done by the selectmen, right?
It comes to the selectmen for approval, but why don't you bring your concerns to Rick? Rick will keep you posted on developments as we develop policy and forms, etc. And then all of that stuff gets brought. The fee will be approved by the Board of Selectmen when it has been determined what that fee should be. So that's all being worked on now. Okay?
Okay, I just implore the selectmen to please reread that ordinance and understand what I'm talking about. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else for audience business? Okay, moving on. Next, we have the payables. These are the payables dated April 7th through April 20th, 2023. Any comments or questions on those payables?
I have a couple clarifications I'd like. On the first page of it, we've got in the administrative section, the bottom two lines, it's talking about set cable building admin and I don't, that's a word salad for me. I need to know what it means.
That one is, I believe, without having the invoice in front of you, it is cabling for our move and everything getting switched around from, because Axiom is our IT people. And then Goliath Tech is a company that the IT people contract with, and they're building the server upgrades that we are doing that was approved on the budget.
And it's so that the police force can move over to the fire building? Is that what this is?
The Axiom one is.
Can't hear.
I'm sorry?
Can't hear.
I said the Axiom bill is for cabling here, switching things around, yes.
Life is just a server update.
And it is the company that the IT people contract with to build the parts to upgrade the server.
Right.
In the building you're sitting in or elsewhere?
It is the building we are sitting in.
So currently the servers are in, all of our IT equipment is in this glass, where the glass windows are at the back of the hearing room here. And all of that equipment is being moved into a different room so that that can become someone's office.
Okay. Would it be possible, can Jennifer turn up the output on hearing? Maybe that'll help, because when Mary turned her head down, I couldn't hear her. And I can't hear Lynette right this second.
Lynette, if I can just, I don't want to turn update. We are not going to use.
Now the main building, it's on mute.
Okay, we're trying. I have one more idea, and other than that, we just got this today, so this is our first time using it.
Can you hear this all right though?
It's up more, but it's still not terrific.
Jerry, can you hear Mary talking?
Yes, I can.
Can Rick hear her? Okay, he's saying yes.
Okay.
I don't know. So, all right, any other questions on the payables?
I have one more on the back page under sewer fund. It says that there was like basically $6 grand paid out for equipment assessment. What does that mean?
Ryan is having a whole assessment, I believe, and Rick can correct me because he probably knows more about it.
Can you,
It's,
you got to keep your face up, Mary, because when you look down, it goes away.
It's true. Deanne's right about that.
Okay. everything else. Am I correct with that?
Can't
Rick?
hear, sorry.
You're correct, Mary.
So, he's been going through this, I believe, since the first of the year, and we just got billed for it, but just, any computer upgrades that need to be done and any SCADA system stuff that needs to be done. He has a company coming in and just saying, okay, this is antiquated and needs to be upgraded. Did I explain that correctly, Rick? Okay.
I don't know what happened, but those last couple sentences I could actually hear. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful.
Make a motion to approve payables dated 4/7/2023 to 4/20/2023.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, that was kind of a tie. Let's give a second to Dwayne. All right, it's been moved and seconded. It's been moved and seconded to approve the tables. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Next, we have the minutes from our last meeting, which was April 11th, 2023. Any corrections, comments, additions to the minutes? Yes, Deanne?
Okay, on page 3, third line, well, third paragraph, except it's only one line from the bottom of page 3. It says Cora Lou opposed the ordinance. Cora Lou was in support of the ordinance.
Actually, I wondered about that myself, Deanne, and I went back to the recording and she actually spoke in favor of preserving the historic character, but she felt that there were other ways that it could perhaps be done better.
I also went back to the recording and she started talking and we interrupted her and asked her to give her name and address. And then she jumped back in where she thought she had left off and didn't say I support or I oppose. And she went and talked a whole lot about preserving everything. And one of her lines was larger isn't a great thing. But I called her and said, were you for this or against it? And she said she was in support of the ordinance.
And that's what I thought too, but she didn't actually say it. I don't know what we do in that case.
Well,
We have to reflect what was said.
I'm agreeable to putting it in favor of preserving historic character, feeling it can be done in other ways. I mean,
Because those were her words. And then we could even strike the oppose the ordinance
Yes.
because she didn't actually say that.
okay, we'll strike that.
Right.
Okay.
I can deal with that. And then next thing about 4 speakers in, we had the Schnittgrens on virtual. And Mrs. Schnittgren came on and very vociferously was saying that we limited ADA access, and I think that should be included despite the fact that it isn't specifically about the ordinance. But I think it should be under what she said, that she, while she opposed the ordinance and all the stuff she said about why, and then also complained that we didn't have adequate access.
And I think it's sufficient to say what the person, if they opposed it or were in favor of it, and everything else is just kind of added. I mean,
I see it as a citizen input, you know, an important comment.
I understand that, but it had actually nothing to do with the ordinance itself. That comment was kind of, I wasn't even sure how it related, so.
Well, it related because she was saying that it was making it so that they couldn't be present because he couldn't access coming up the stairs.
well, but he was on Zoom, so he was heard.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, I believe that little comment should be added in that she opposed the ordinance, the town's diverse and has big houses and yada, yada, yada. And then also commented about lack of ADA access.
I feel like it's okay how it is.
I'm in favor of keeping it the way it is. Let's go around the table.
It doesn't have anything to do, and it's just a random comment, I don't think it needs to be in it.
Okay,
I agree.
I agree.
okay, okay. All right, the rest of the board is in agreement to leave it the way it stands, so. Any other comments or additions or questions?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes dated April 11th, 2023,
As amended?
as amended.
I'll second that.
Yeah.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of the April 11th, 2023 regular meeting as amended. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed?
I would like to clarify that we did indeed move Cora Lou into the supportive list.
We did, what we discussed, and I thought everyone agreed, was that she spoke in favor of preserving historic character, but there may be other ways to do it. Those were her words. We struck the oppose the ordinance words.
Okay, so the opposition is gone because she was in support of it.
Okay, that's.
Okay, in that case, I can also vote yes.
To approve it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on. We have agenda item number 1. Well, 1 has kind of parts to it. So 1A is Revitalize Main Street grant. B is Argentine North project. And C is City Park gazebo. And we have Cindy Neely here in the room to help us do this. So.
Yes, all right, A, the Revitalize Main Street program is that CDOT program that we use to fund the bathrooms at Strauss Park. We use to fund our street furniture, and they are once again at it. And we have set aside in the budget, you have set aside in the budget $155,000 to do Strauss Park, which will not get Strauss Park completed. And so, in looking at possibilities to fund Strauss Park, at the way that, at the level at which the Parks Commission has agreed that it should be finished, which has a lot of beautiful flagstone in it, which is just dreadfully expensive, but is what we want to do. So this Main Street program is once again out there. Their limit is $250,000. That's for their contribution. They would ask for a 20% match. Well, at 250,000, that's $50,000 match, and you have 155 in the budget. So you have the match there. The grant deadline is May 31st. They tell you by the middle of June. It's a simply amazing turnaround. Yeah, that's a wild turnaround, but it would potentially give us the kind of revenues that that would be needed to actually, I mean, Mr. Hamilton tells me that yeah, he thinks he could probably get it all done for that. So I'm asking for permission to write on behalf of the town of Georgetown to the Main Street program for $250,000 for Strauss Park. And I need a vote to say
I would
that.
motion to be in support of that as Cindy lined it out.
I think there's a recommended motion in the packet. And Cindy probably wants that motion in that form, but Deanne, you can probably make.
Okay, I move to approve the request to pursue a grant from Revitalize Main Street for $250,000 to go towards the Strauss Park refresh project.
Okay.
Who seconded?
Rob did.
Thank you.
It's been moved and seconded to approve, the grant, pursuing. Any further discussion? Any questions from the board? Okay,
Good work, just something going.
All right.
Deadlines come back up and doing that. So
Well, it's easy when they send you little emails.
So, I'm gonna call for a vote. I just needed to give board time to weigh in if they wish to. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great.
All right, now the update on the Argentine Street North project is that when you let designers and engineers get going, they see things a little bit differently as they get closer to them. The initial project for Argentine Street North was very straightforward. It was a sidewalk down the side of the street. However, it was well understood that one of the things you wanted to do was calm the traffic down. And sidewalks actually do not calm traffic. So we went through long discussions about how to properly try to calm that traffic. Putting bumps in the road was not a sought after solution for a road like that. And just striping, and actually our designer said, well, maybe a street light, and that sort of, no, we weren't gonna go that. So what the plan is to make a slight curve in the road towards its south, well, beyond the roundabout, but towards its south end, and then put a roundabout in at 22nd Street. And between those two things, well, if that does horrendous things to your budget. I mean, it not only moves the road, it moves the sidewalk, it moves the trail, it does horrendous things. So we do not have sufficient monies on hand by a long shot to handle that kind of thing, but we would like to do the project. It also means we do not get the project done this summer in 2023. That was going to be difficult anyway, because putting something out to bid in June, to have somebody start work in September, does not give you a very healthy bidding prospects, quite frankly. So, and we have plenty of time in the grant that we're now sitting on. We are also sitting on, even when we finish our design, we'll be sitting on about $850,000. And so we need to double that, and then maybe a little some. And we spoke to Todd, what is his last name, Rick? Who is the new representative from DOLA.
Leopold.
Leopold, okay, and his assistant, who is an old friend of Georgetown's, Gita Gayu, came up and visited with Rick and with me, and when we went through the 30% plans, we went through the whole thing. They feel that we are definitely eligible for the Energy Impact Assistance Fund. They always call it just the EIAF, but that's what EIAF stands for, is the Energy Impact Assistance Fund. The deadline for that, and that's a fund where you can, those are the large bite funds. You can ask for up to $2 million, but it is a dollar for dollar match. So their deadline is July 31st. No, July 1st, sorry, is July 1st, and they won't let us know until the fall. But at that point, we would be 100% designed. We would be ready to go out to bid. We would have a much more successful bidding season. If we're bidding in the fall for work to happen in the spring and summer, it just would be a far better bidding season. I would like permission for the town to ask for potentially up to $950,000 if Mary and I in discussion can make sure we have the match. The minimum would be 850, but if we can figure out how we can up our match a little, I would like to have the authority to go to 950 in the grant request.
Okay, any questions from the board?
So what would the timeline be aside from the money piece? And the grant application?
If we are awarded the grant, we will be ready to immediately go to bid.
So we won't see any improvements done on any of the project
This summer.
2023.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's the downside.
But it's doing the roundabout, it'd be a huge improvement versus what we have.
Yes, well, I think this road improvements are important to the project.
Yeah. I think it's worth the wait for what we get from it.
I'm not debating that. Maybe clarification.
Yeah, yeah, and the other thing was pushing it up, foot to the metal. The more I started looking at the bid season, I thought, who's gonna bid on a project do we want the person who doesn't already have work? If you know what I'm aiming at there.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
But if there are any other questions about, we're very pleased with the design team and Chase Keys at HR Green, and Craig's been working at, Abrahamson on the town, and we're doing our FIR. We're doing our 30% review with CDOT, because this does have federal money in it. It means you have to go through their whole regular rigmarole, and that's going to be in May. But it permits us to not put stress on everybody's life and to get our design detail done better too. I'm okay. But that's not here.
So I'll make a motion to approve the request to pursue a grant from Joe in the amount of $950,000 to go towards the acquisition of.
I'll second.
okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay, great. And item 3 is the city park gazebo. A couple of years ago.
I have a question.
Yeah,
Who is Home Services of Silver Plum?
Silver Plum Home Services has been Tim McDonough. He has been restoring.
Well, that's it?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Restoring buildings in this town for with me for 40 years.
Dress them up, but you can't have the home service.
Yeah, no, it's home, well, that's, the funny part of it is when you're restoring a school and you tell somebody that you're doing a big grant request to the state historic fund, and they're asking about the contractor, and you're saying it's Silver Plum Home Services?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
Except they've come to love his work, so, Anyway, we had a town crew down at the gazebo, and I think it's a couple of summers ago, and they were supposed to do something up on the roof, and they stood on the roof, and the whole thing sort of sways. The problem with it is that not the roof's problem, actually, it is the fact that those tin thingy, plastic thingies that they put up in brackets are not brackets, and so essentially we would like to put up, well, it's actually a border board around, so you actually have something that's holding your uprights upright, and do a little strengthening of the rails, and restore the hoops on the upper part, which are just sort of decaying. The question mark here is that we're not totally sure exactly how much of the roof needs help. I suspect we have $15,000 in this year's budget to do this. I don't expect the repair to go there, but I'm asking to have permission to get it done and not exceed your budget.
is the B right next to the E?
What are you talking about?
Hey, Silver Plum? I mean, the B is right next to the E, right? Oh, okay. All right. Is this Rick? Is this you? You sound like a. Hey, well, and I just want to make sure that there's no difference between building services and home services.
Oh, good catch.
What, where?
In the motion,
I've
it
been
says
directed.
building services,
No, it's home services.
Home.
and
It's from home services.
That's a typo.
So it's not home services in Silver Grove.
No, I just want to make sure that it's got.
It's, yeah, I appreciate that, Rob. It's supposed to be home services.
That's fine, I just want to make sure this,
Matrix. In my.
you know, Cindy, sometimes she can slip things through the cracks.
Yeah, right.
Go for it.
All right, I move to approve the request to allow home services,
Silver Plume,
Silver Plume.
no,
to do
Silver Plume Home Services is the name of the business.
Good stuff.
Silver Plume Home Services to do the repair of the city park gazebo in the amount not to exceed $15,000.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve this repair of the city park gazebo. All in favor, say aye.
I,
Any opposed?
It will not happen, probably be in July 4th.
I can't hear any of
Cindy was just saying that it probably would not happen until after the 4th of July due to weather, the lingering winter and his construction schedule.
Great,
So,
thank you.
okay, and next we have, resolution number 9, series 2023, lease agreement for the firehouse building. Amending the lease agreement between the town and Clear Creek Fire Authority for access and use of the town-owned property for the Georgetown Police Department.
Well, I'll start this and let Jerry. We're in discussions. I was hoping last week to have this ready, so I created the action item for this. However, the county, Peter Lichtman, and also Kelly Bebian is also in discussions trying to figure out the best approach. And Jerry has suggested 3 options, and so I'll let Jerry take over.
Thanks, Rick. Everybody can hear me okay? Very good.
Yes.
Very good. And thanks for letting me attend 2 meetings in a row virtually. I promise I'll be there in person next time. But having said that, the firehouse building is owned by the town, and it has been leased by the town to the fire authority for a very long time under just a kind of a straight up lease. Interestingly, that lease ties the term of the lease, the amount of time in the lease, to the effective date and the term of a separate agreement, which is an IGA between the town, Silver Plume, Idaho Springs, Empire, and the county that puts together funding for the fire authority. So they're related in that sense, that the IGA for the fire authority that keeps it funded has its own little term, and the next expiration date for that, more detail than you care about, is the end of next year. So December 31, 2024. And that's been amended and renewed a number of times. So every time it gets renewed, the lease term for the town's lease of the building to the fire authority similarly gets amended. That's just the landscape here and the kind of context for the board. And now, of course, there's a desire for the town to be able to use a portion of that space for the police department. And I've got a meeting actually tomorrow with Peter Lichtman, the county attorney, to discuss the various ways we could do that. One of which is we just amend the lease to carve out some space for the town, because the town owns the property and it's leasing the whole building. So you could amend the lease and lease 90% of the building to the fire authority, and then the town can retain the 10%. I'm making up the numbers, but it's that kind of a structure. We could also potentially do some kind of long-term license, where the fire authority gave the town a license to use a portion of the building, and that would avoid having to amend the lease. Now, there's only 2 parties on the lease, the fire authority and the town. So one way or another, you're going to get those 2 parties to have to sign something. In practice, I think it's going to be more what the county is comfortable with. I think it will get the town its objective here, which is the ability to use some space. Probably not forever, right? Because we've got other plans potentially for for a more permanent solution, but that's why a long-term, license might actually do the trick. Third, we could do some kind of IGA. I don't really favor that because what we're really talking about here is the use of property. And it's really that conversation, I think, is just between fire authority and the town. It doesn't really need to mess with this IGA, which is, the IGA is a funding mechanism. The town of Empire doesn't, care about these things. It cares that it's got a funding obligation to the fire authority generally. And all the jurisdictions in the county are participating, including the county is a participant in that IGA. But I think that's more complex than it needs to be. So what I would like to suggest, I guess, is because we won't have that animal, either a lease amendment or a license in hand yet. That's something I need to bring back to the board once we can negotiate it. So what I think would be the right direction tonight would just be kind of a consensus from the board that you would like to see one of these forms of permission, for lack of a better way of saying it, for the town to use a portion of that space for the police department, written up in a form that works for myself and for Rick and for the county, and presented to you for your approval. If it's an amendment to the lease, you'll need to do either an ordinance or resolution. If it's a long-term license, it can be a resolution or a motion. But because I don't have that structure yet, and it may well be that when I speak with Mr. Lickman, the county attorney, tomorrow, he may have other elements that ought to be in it. Clearly, you'll need to see the package again, but I want to at least tell you where I believe we're headed. And I think the appropriate direction is one of these two mechanisms. Questions?
Yeah, I have a question. As the fire authority kind of operates independently from the county under its IGA, wouldn't a better method would this be a memorandum of understanding, say, with the fire authority, and have it go through Bob Cole, which is the legal representation for the fire authority, and not the county, which is just 20% of what the fire authority is.
Yeah, I understand that. Fair question. In point of fact, you are right. The fire authority is our lessee. We're the lessor, they're the lessee. And if we want to change the arrangement as between the two of us, it will require the fire authority's approval. I don't disagree that the county, I disagree the county has no role because they're one of the funders of the intergovernmental agreement. And I'm happy to sort of network with all the attorneys here, both the county and the fire authority. In the end, there's nothing I can write that if the fire authority attorney doesn't like it, it's not going to go any further if fire authority attorney says no. But I do want to also hear from the county. I realize they're only a 1/5 funder, but I think that they're an important player, more so, to be honest, than say Empire or Idaho Springs, who views this as just really exclusively their role being funding.
Well, so this has a resolution number mentioned, so we're not going that route at all. There won't be a resolution.
Certainly not tonight. This was kind of a placeholder. We thought we'd have more, but it's on the agenda as a resolution. But what I'm telling you is I'm not ready for that. I do not have.
And I understand that.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if the motion should read that we move to table resolution number 9 until the parties involved have finished their negotiations.
I think it's less than that. Resolution number 9 doesn't exist yet. We don't, physically it doesn't exist other than being mentioned. I see Deanne's got a question. Hang on, I'll make sure.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist yet. So really, I think all I would prefer would be a motion directing me to explore these alternatives with the fire authority and with the county, and to bring back to the board an instrument that would accomplish the task here.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay,
Can you
Deanne's
repeat
got
those,
discussion.
please?
yes, Deanne.
I wanted to see if there was a way to make the recommended motion or the motion itself something that gives you the authority to go after either or of those first two options, you know, the amendment of the lease or the long-term license, but leave that up to you during the discussion. Both of them sound like they will accomplish the ends we want. And I think you should have the leeway or authority or whatever you want to call it to be able to do it at your discretion. Is that something we can do? Is that okay?
It is, and that was my understanding of the suggested motion.
Oh, okay. I thought it only went after the amended lease because that's what it says on the paper I've got.
Yeah, that's what it says on the paper. What I said and what I thought John said, yes, he will do, so moved, is to what I thought I was articulating, we should make it clear, is that direct me to bring back to the board an instrument that accomplishes this task. That gives me the flexibility you're wanting, and I appreciate.
Okay, yeah, Jennifer was asking for some clarification.
Yeah, can you repeat it, please? I didn't catch it.
Motion to direct the town attorney to negotiate and bring back to the board an instrument permitting town use of a portion of the fire station building for the police department in form recommended by the town attorney. How about that, John?
I make that motion.
All right.
I'll second that motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
Okay, so a motion has been made and seconded, and I hope everybody understands the motion at this point. So any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Marvelous.
Thank you very much.
Item 3 was deleted, so we move on to 4, which is resolution number 8, series 2023. Public hearing for budget supplementals, a resolution of the Board of Selectmen for the town of Georgetown of Colorado enacting a supplemental budget and appropriation for the fiscal year 2023 budget. And I will go ahead and open the public hearing. It is 6:51 p.m. Okay. Who wants to present?
I can.
Okay.
So for a don't, oh, there it is, sorry. Most of these, most of the items on this supplemental are cleanup items. Several of them are due to, increased sales tax revenue coming in from 2022, but we didn't recognize it till 23. It didn't get here till March. We're several months behind, so that will increase road and bridge and parks amounts in the 2023 budget. And then the other item, the last item there is what you had approved that Rick brought to you for the additional cost for relocation of the police department and retrofitting things here. And the money that we got from Excel also is in there for the screen up at the water plant. They gave us the 18,000, so we needed to put it in, but we could actually extend it and buy the new screen. But most of these things are just cleanup and stuff. For
Any questions on the supplemental? Yes, Deanne?
Okay, at one meeting, Rick was saying something about if we accepted the 18 grand from Excel, that was going to put some kind of a clause in effect that we couldn't do anything like couldn't ask them for more money the next time something happens. Is that still the case?
I'm unaware of that. Rick may be able to speak to that.
Good question, Deanne. I can't recall because it's been a while. I do remember the clauses that we did take out was allowing them to have permission to move forward with the watershed protection permit and, and also hold them completely harmless for things. We took all of those things and made it just a basic transaction that they were willing to help the town with no fault at all on either side. That's what I remember. Jerry, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, that's my recollection. It just facilitated them paying us that amount of money, kind of a single transaction, but I did not perceive that as binding us or frankly Excel to, sort of future commitments in any way. And I think that enables the town to be free to, request additional monies and do the things mentioned in the supplemental.
And we're sure that by accepting the 18 grand, that really doesn't pin us down and not let us come back, because they've already proven to not act in good faith. And I'm very concerned that it'll come back and bite us in the butt.
Well, all I can do is repeat what I just said on that subject.
And if we accepted that money back in February of this year.
So it's a done deal then.
Well, the check came and it was deposited and we've already ordered and received the new filter.
So we already dealt with that, Deanna. What we're just doing now is approving the fund transfer from one fund to another. All that issue was already resolved when we discussed it at a previous meeting.
I thought we left it open because of that clause and it was going to come back and be explained or something. I thought that Jerry and Rick had a meeting like the next week with Excel. And so we were going to wait and hear what came from that.
I believe we already did hear, and those clauses that were holding us, binding us to no further reimbursement were stricken. Also, they wanted us to facilitate the watershed protection permit, and we
voted that down. I remember distinctly.
Correct. So we're clear to accept the money because it was just a simple transaction of reimbursement and money's been received. Now we're just shifting it from the account that we paid it out of when we paid for the filter replacement, and we are shifting the reimbursement to where it needs to be. Okay?
I'm just concerned because when Jerry was explaining it, he said something about with no harm on either side. And that really worries me that these guys are going to say, well, you guys, as in, if I have a car accident and their insurance company pays me money, if I accept that, that ends everything that I can, what would I call it? Appeal to, to be able to, it stops me from having action. And I'm just concerned. But since Mary said we already accepted it, it doesn't matter.
Well, I mean, honestly, folks, the key here is this. They paid us for a new filter.
Yes.
That's what that was. And when you say no harm, no foul in either party, it's really about paying us for a new filter. It really isn't about our larger agenda with them. They know that, we know that. I don't disagree, Deanne. We have ongoing suspicion and fights, etc. with Excel. What I'm trying to communicate, and then I won't repeat it anymore, but what I'm trying to communicate is those fights are not advanced or retreated in any way with this reimbursement of 18 grand for a filter. We've got bigger fish to fry, and this doesn't affect those fish. I don't know that I'm pretty sure we'll have trouble with those fish, but it won't be because of this $18,000. That's what I'm telling you.
Yep. All right, so I believe, well,
Does that make a motion?
Yeah.
please,
Please do.
I make a motion to approve resolution number 8 series of 2023, a resolution of the Board of Selectmen for the town of Georgetown, Colorado, enacting a supplemental budget and appropriation in the fiscal year 2023 budget.
Second.
the motion has been made and seconded. Everybody understands the motion, am I correct?
Correct.
So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I think I'm gonna put down as opposed just because I don't trust it.
Okay, so, and I will go ahead and close the public hearing. It is 7 p.m. All right, next on our agenda, we have committee appointments. So as you see by the list in your packet, people have volunteered from the board and from staff to serve and represent Georgetown on these various commissions and committees and other boards. And we have one in particular that we need to get a new person appointed. And that was the one that Paul Hingen was representing the town on, and that was the Georgetown Loop Communications Committee. But I also wanted to open things up if anybody is currently committed to any particular appointment, but finds they can't do it any longer or has interest in serving on a different committee than they are, please speak now.
But forever hold your peace.
Well, not forever.
That could be forever.
So, does anybody feel like they'd like to serve on the Georgetown Loop Communications Committee?
Perhaps you want to explain that to our new selectman.
Well,
He wants to.
Who knows, who has history there? Who has history on information on what that,
I don't know.
okay, so we might need to find out.
Just go.
So,
I'm interested.
okay. Well, as you see, as you see, the last time it met was in May of 2021, so it doesn't meet often.
That sounds good.
Okay. All right.
You'll notice I'm on the sewer board and it's a shit job.
Any other changes to the committee appointments
John.
for today?
So John got put on it? Who got put on the Georgetown Loop Communication? What?
Dwayne said he would be glad to do it.
Do we need to make a formal motion for that?
Yes, let's go ahead and,
Motion to nominate, to appoint Dwayne Kaczynski to the Georgetown Loop Communications Committee. Or the town of Georgetown.
I'll second that.
okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much.
So I can try to call Georgetown Loop and find out, and then we have a meeting for you.
Let's set up a meeting.
Yeah.
I was gonna say,
Next we have a reappointment, a renewal of Ed Hoover's membership on the planning commission. He has submitted a letter of interest and he has served us well. Would anybody like to
I'll move to renew the appointment of Ed Hoover on the planning commission.
It's been moved and seconded to reappoint Ed Hoover to the planning commission. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
And I just wanna throw some out real quick if I can. Planning commission, we do have 2 new people. Well, we have one formally, Alex, who you guys appointed. We have another guy that's interested who is gonna go to a planning commission meeting and then we'll bring it to you guys. But then we did just get one, we have one more vacancy now. Because Ann Wilkins is resigning, so just throwing it out there so you guys can mention it to people.
Okay,
Well, you should have another letter coming to you from somebody I talked to, so.
okay,
Besides Jake.
okay.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Who's resigning, please?
And Wilson.
All right, thank you.
Moving on, we have the town administrator's report and task list update. Rick?
All right, so first I'll say, it is quite an experience to be on this end and not on that end. One is, I don't feel like I can be myself. I can't joke and laugh and look at Mary or anything like that. And I have to agree with Deanne that the sound is hard at times to hear. So this has been an eye-opening experience for us to try to address the sound issues. So I can hear for the most part, but it's really hard to hear audience speak. So anyways, Deanne,
Yeah, did it just go up and down for you? Because when I asked who was the one that resigned, as soon as Lynette said Ann Wilson, the sound level dropped a whole bunch.
you did. Yes.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out if there's any way at all it's my machine, but I don't think it is because I've done it on several different machines, you know.
We'll continue to look at this and try to address it.
I've observed something, and that is that when I've been watching tonight, when a person looks down,
Mhm.
like Lynette was
goes
looking
away.
down and speaking, and then when Lynette looked up, it was fine. It's all about, I think, the line of sight almost between, well, seriously, the line of sight between the speaker and the owl. And of course, when you're in the room, looking down, looking up, looking sideways doesn't matter. But we might think about, sort of line of sight with the owl, because I think that that's really part of it. It's been up and down tonight, and I've been saying, why is that? And I've been kind of watching people and listening to the sound, and I believe I've correlated it that way. We'll see.
Well, Mary just suggested that we can raise the owl, and also you guys, we need to get, like, this room is so echoey, and like the Heritage Center is the same way. Like, we need to get a rug in here to help absorb the sound and other things. I mean, this is an old building with a really high ceiling and it's echoey. I mean, sometimes I can't even hear what you guys are saying, and we're in the same room.
Plus, we're talking louder so you guys can hear.
Yeah.
So we're trying.
Would there be a way to get more microphones so that, like, you've got a U-shaped table, and so if each wing of the table or each table had its own mic and then another mic for the public at a podium or something, would that be possible? Because that would take care of some of the echo.
The Zoom owl is supposed to be the microphone and speaker and everything, so we will play around with it. Yes, it's a work in progress. It's something new.
For now.
I interrupted poor Rick's report, so I'm sorry, Rick, you go right ahead.
No, good. I mean, this is entertaining, so.
Yeah.
Before I just want to highlight a few things, but before I do, does anyone have any questions on my report submitted?
No.
Okay, good. I'll just highlight a few things that I think are important to go forward. We're seeking to do Board of Selectmen training, and I've asked Jerry for some dates, and I believe we selected a date for doing that, but I did not write that down because I'm
May 12th.
What, say it
May
again?
12th?
May 12th, okay.
I think it's a Wednesday.
May 10th, it's a Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Second, just to highlight is we're going to do a joint discussion with the DRC and the Planning Commission on May 3rd to discuss the process chart that Community Matters, myself and Jerry have been working on. We've kind of did some preliminary discussions, and then we've taken back that feedback to then make some changes we feel that are good. And then Jerry's going to lead that discussion on May 3rd. We have been busy hiring people. So we've hired 4 people since our last meeting. Bob Nix, which is one of our summer help, he's coming back. Jay Nixon, so we have a Nixon. He's going to be coming to be our second summer help. He's from Missouri, but he will be coming at the end of May. So that's 2. Mickey Fry is joining us with our road and bridge to be an operator. And lastly, which is what I spent most of my time this past week preparing and doing interviews and everything. And that was for our marketing and events coordinator position, which Mary participated as a representative from the board and the rest of the board of, Business Promotions Commission members. We selected Jess Edwards, and we sent her an offer letter, and she accepted. And so she's going through the onboarding, she's doing paperwork, and she's going to be starting May 15th, doing some remote work until she can get here on the 1st, or unless she can find housing before then. But she's going to be in person to start June 1st, but onboarding and remote work to do website and anything else that we need remotely on the 15th of May. So those are exciting things to happen with Georgetown. I did post yesterday about the assistant position. It is on our website. When I return back to Georgetown from Glenwood Springs, I will add it to Indeed, CML, and CCCMA websites to market for that role, the assistant to the administrator role. I've got good news. I'm excited about this. Finally, the bridge approaches on 22nd Street have finally been finished. The only thing that's done is, I know, I see you, Mary. The only thing that's done left is the railings to put on, but the concrete pouring is finally finished, and it's in curing process. ESI is planning to come May 22nd to finish the concrete pans down Rose Street and on 8th Street. So that is when they're scheduled. It's on their books to be here. I had a meeting. Go ahead.
No.
May, when was it?
May 22nd.
Oh, sorry.
I had a short discussion with Excel today with Daniel Trujillo. Cindy Neely also joined that call. That was just to get permission to clean the trash racks since they are pretty clogged, and they are wanting to make sure that it's not having any issues clogging and preventing water from flowing, and also anticipating spring runoff. So we're trying to come to decisions quickly, but however, that discussion was just to give them permission to clean the trash rack. We will be having a meeting.
Danny Trujillo? Really? He's a movie star.
No, it's not that one.
Not that good?
We are still going to be meeting with their team to discuss our responses from the revision that they sent for the watershed protection permit application. And the revision included the trash rack with the elbow that was put on the penstock to cut the penstock. So anyways, we're still in review. We have a meeting. We don't have a date scheduled yet, but when I get back, that hopefully we can pick a date for our team to meet with them. Bighorn, 1999 Argentine and the town are in the process of doing a joint agreement in order to bring a sewer line to the 1999 development. And so we're in process of that. Jerry's also been helping to create a document that we can agree on. And it's basically the town will provide one manhole Bighorn Crossing will provide one manhole. Bighorn Crossing will provide an easement to go through the property. And then 1999 Argentine developer, David Burton, which I can't remember the actual name that they use, but the developer will put in an 8-inch sewer line that will connect or go from his property to an 8-inch main that goes through the side of the development that's closest to the Bighorn Crossing apartments. So we're in the process of doing that. So that is what we've agreed upon, with Ryan also being involved and not compromising on what the standard should be. And that's all I have. Those are my highlights.
Rick, if I understood you correctly, you said the new events coordinator, marketing person was starting her onboarding in mid-May. However, she wasn't officially started until the 1st of June. Where does that leave us with coverage on Memorial Day weekend?
No, she will be officially starting on the 15th. She
Okay,
will be working remotely until the 1st of June.
okay,
Yeah, I mean, I could just say she'll be starting the 15th of May and that's it. But I gave you a little bit more details.
okay.
Yep.
Okay, great. Any questions for Rick? Okay.
Great.
Next we have, you already talked about the good governance training update, which will be on the 10th of May. So anybody have anything else that they need to bring up to the board? Okay, we can adjourn. If I have a motion.
Sorry.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Awesome. It is 7:16. Woo-hoo. Thank you so much, everybody.
And I'll be in Glenwood Springs until Friday, the CCCMA conference.
Thank you.
Great.